Come with us now, if you dare, down a rickety staircase into a dank, dark basement. What awaits? The Saturday Night Freak Show.
Welcome back, ladies and germs, to the Saturday Night Freak Show podcast. Every Saturday night, a new episode magically appears on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, and more. Hey, do us a favor. Go on over to wherever you can hit the like button, the star button, the, whatever, favorite button, because that helps us get our message out.
Help us!
To more and more unsuspecting people every week. This is the show where we talk about movies, we sit down, we watch one, and then we talk about it for your education and listening pleasure. And tonight, the Saturday Night Freak Show starting lineup is...
Travis.
Sean.
Brandon.
And I'm Colin. And tonight, it was my fault. I chose the movie, and it's called Lemora, A Child's Tale of the Supernatural, a.k.a. Lemora, Lady Dracula, a.k.a. the legendary Curse of Lemora, from 1973.
I apologize for the noise of me opening a flask right in front of the microphone.
Or as I'd like to call it, Alice's Adventures in the Shadow over Innsmouth.
Yeah, sometimes we sit down and watch movies, and sometimes we sit down and watch...
Sometimes movies
things.
watch us. I don't know. Yeah, things.
So...
This was on film.
Yeah, it was.
There.
And that also goes to say something about the state of independent filmmaking in 1973. Like, if you had access to a camera and knew how to operate it, I think that gave you, you had a chance of getting theatrical distribution. I mean, now everybody has,
because that was before the studios bought all the theater chains, right?
Yeah.
That's why you could pretty much shop it around and blah, blah, blah.
Drive-ins.
As soon as I want to say
hit the late night drive-in.
Sure.
Yeah.
I want to say as soon as Jaws came in, the studios were like, fuck it, we'll buy the theaters and we'll just,
Well, they were doing that in the 50s or no, I think the studios were building theaters in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and then they started selling them off.
They were blockbusting.
Yeah, they owned, Paramount owned and operated all their theaters and stuff like that. So they started selling them, and then you had little owner-operators coming in, and then that's where you could actually have product that's kind of like a regional movie. You can make something in the Midwest and just play, in the Midwest kind of thing.
Well, that was a big thing not that I'm an expert. That's a big thing. I like stag.
Prove it.
We're not experts.
How stag movies were too. It was a weirdly regional thing that was just hand to hand, passed from weird people, dudes in the back of libraries or whatever, watching Betty Page movies.
Yeah,
and
on
that's how I did it.
16mm film.
Yeah, exactly.
Trade them around. Yeah. So this is the product of a guy named Richard Blackburn. He also stars in the movie as the Reverend.
The Reverend. Oh, yeah.
Wrote it. His family, put up money for it or something. He's a UCLA film grad. He's got no other movies to his credit.
None after this was I've reached my peak.
Well, he barely even wrote
I can't
this.
make anymore.
Once you to the top of the mountain, it's
I made my movie.
A hard road back down.
Would it shock you to learn that this movie didn't perform well when it first came out? So he sold it off, I think, his interest in it, and it kind of was, that's why it was distributed under so many different titles.
Right. They want more. They're trying to trick people. It's you thought you saw some shit before.
I saw a poster for this movie that said something about lock your doors, something. There's a possession taking place.
Turn off.
When they released it following The Exorcist, right?
So they just released it every few years after a big hit, and then just kind of patterned it after that big hit?
That's not a bad marketing strategy.
That's not. Right.
That's what everybody. How many those Exorcists behind the beyond the door?
Behind the door?
Behind the door.
Was it Beyond the Door?
I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Abby
There's an upside down cross in the title. There's la la say ha dun dun.
Yeah, that's all you need. Italian.
So this movie.
Wait, this is how people describe this movie, or at least the pull quote on the front.
Should we start from the beginning and move on?
One by one?
Do we start from the beginning?
We'll get there.
Should we give
it starts like Batman 66. Dutch angles and shit.
I'm just saying, should we give the listeners a synopsis so they don't have to watch it?
Did something happen in this movie? I mean, is there a
yes. Oh, I got it.
It was blue.
I'm in the zone.
Do you want to blow it out for us?
Okay. Let's start from
this is the
up and
paragraph
out
version of...
Yeah, this is my Fast Five. Okay.
Oh, come on.
Lily, right? Lily?
Is it
Lila.
Yeah. No.
Lila.
Is it
Lila?
Lila? I thought it was Lily Lee. I don't know.
And so
Lila Lee.
I think that might show. Is it Lila or Lily?
Lila Lee.
That shows how much this movie's going to stick with you.
Stuck.
Lila, yeah, you're right.
Lila is
singing
the
angel.
She is
Played by the late Cheryl
angel.
Rainbeaux Smith.
I have some things about her too.
Yeah.
Okay. We looked up the
The
same
year
thing.
after this, she did Caged Heat.
Correct.
And then the Pom Pom Girls and Swinging Cheerleaders.
Awesome. Pom pom.
Until the
Massacre at Central
80s
High.
when
She was
she got lost into heroin.
All sound
Yeah.
far more interesting, but continue.
Well, Caged Heat was like a
Women
famous
in
like
prison
women in prison
movie.
exploitation.
She was a groupie in Phantom of the Paradise.
No shit.
I don't know which groupie, but she was in there.
Cool.
All right. So Lila Lee is the daughter of a mobster who, in the opening scene, kills his wife and her lover. Cut from that to the church, where the director / actors preaching. Well, not so much preaching as much as just saying like, this girl is so pure.
Despite whether her father was a murderer.
You don't judge her.
It's Colonel Sanders.
Listen to that fucking voice.
is
She's a
perfection.
beautiful voice. There's no way that came from a murderer. No way. She's lived with me for 3 years. Yeah, this is 3 years later. We jump to Lila Lee singing in the choir.
But it makes it sound like, because you're still talking like, it doesn't matter if he murdered her mother in cold blood. She's an angel.
Yeah.
Don't punish her for the sins of the father. He's preaching to an all-female congregation there, too.
All female. They all look down when he mentions
Gossiping.
gossiping.
Yeah, they're all like,
little small town. It takes place in Georgia. I had to look that up.
Wasn't it Georgia?
That's
I
what,
couldn't
yeah.
tell.
Yeah.
It felt like Florida, Georgia.
Everybody should be like, hey, Suge. Don't worry, Suge.
Shot in California. Though. They kept it close to home.
She goes home. She lives with the Reverend as well.
Yeah, he like adopted her or something.
Yeah, it seems as such. I don't know. It's a little hazy.
Not much explanation.
Yeah, dude, this
that.
movie's really
She
hazy.
gets a letter
Fucking letter.
from Lemora
Yep.
telling her that. Well, I guess
her
okay. I'm
father?
sorry. At this point, she thinks it's from her father. It's actually from Lemora, but it's from Lemora because he
From
says,
Lemora.
"I'm taking
Yeah,
care
I
of your
have
father
your
who's
father.
dying."
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes. So he's taking care of her father who's dying, and his one
I
like
wasn't watching.
his like one last wish is that like his daughter comes back to like forgive him or whatever.
He's just driving around for 3 years because that's where we go. He's driving around, just driving like he's in his car still.
So here's a question I have: How
on the
old
road.
do we think Lila
this was my
is
question.
Lila Lee.
in this movie?
Well,
Lila
she keeps
Lee's
saying that she's 13 years
13.
old.
How old is Cheryl Smith in this movie?
21.
Oh, thank God.
I don't know.
How old do you think?
She is a developed young woman. Let's put it that way.
How old do you think the actress was in this movie?
That's what I'm saying. Probably in her, I would think, somewhere between 19 and 20.
She was 18. Lila was 18.
Okay,
The actress played Lila was 18. I looked it up. Which is hence what makes the titties all right.
Yeah, it's okay.
Because this movie is all about everybody wants to fuck a
I didn't see any
13-year-old girl.
fucking
So
uncensored.
we are led to believe in this film.
Oh, you didn't know.
No, I watched this on YouTube.
It's rated PG, but you can get away with more in a PG movie.
I don't
in
think her boobs were on
1973.
YouTube.
Oh, they were her. I
This
mean,
says uncut
it's
There were
accents.
well
It was-
placed items, but there was shifting
you had to be looking
glimpses.
for-
Really hard. You fucking guys. This little girl
Hey, I felt bad
is
about it.
on
Okay?
her way. Okay.
We are led to believe in this movie that every single person wants to rape a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Well,
That is
no,
like-
if
they just want-
they're religious,
that is
that's the main thing. It's like The Exorcist is the only movie from the 70s where the priests are good guys. Like everything else, be like, I'm gonna fuck her.
everybody, and the dude at the train station.
Yeah, it's like, you want
it was
some
just
chocolate?
Every
You like
person
soft or hard,
she happened
Santa?
to come
Well, dude,
around.
because it's Alice in Wonderland. She had to eat chocolate. She had to get. She had to eat something from a stranger. That's what I was wondering. It's like, is there a fantasy? Because I mean, all this was like, okay, it's a child's tale to supernatural. So this guy,
which is
Richard
which is
Blackburn.
arbitrary. It means fucking
No.
It's her point of view. I think that's what it's
Richard
saying, right?
Blackburn. I think he's taking from everything that's supposed to be like a fairy tale. You know,
Yeah.
he's taking this Alice in Wonderland type of girl.
Yep.
But is
Evil
there
queen.
like a famous? I don't know. Is there a famous fairy tale where a girl gets a letter from her father? Like what?
No,
Beauty
it's,
and the Beast.
It's Dracula. Dracula, isn't it? It's Bram Stoker's Dracula. She gets the invitation to come to the castle, and then when she's there, it's all strange, and there's all this weird stuff going on. She's not seen the mirror scene is right out of Dracula.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this movie, so.
Because that's why it's like there's the coachman, but he's actually out of the shadow over Innsmouth.
Oh yeah,
I mean that.
Well, not even the coachman. The train, the ticket station. Like as soon as she goes to the ticket station, and then she gets on the bus. Who I'm assuming the driver's name is fucking Joe Sargent or whatever. Yeah. And then he explains how like the people have the Astaroth look.
Yeah.
I was like,
well, they even worked in that dialogue about those are the ones that have taken to the woods instead of the ocean.
Where that's the Shadow over Innsmouth. If you haven't read by H.P. Lovecraft, where that's why I'm like, dude, why is it so hard to do a Dagon movie? This motherfucker did it like almost exactly. Start at the ticket station, get on the bus. The things that were H.P. Lovecraft describes the frog fish people as like a barking sound, and in this, that guy took it literally. They're like,
they are barking.
There was a scene later on where she was during like where she was running in the old town. This is way jumping ahead, but there was a scene where she locks herself in. It's like an old hotel, and then she gets chased. I'm like, they're back to the shadow over Innsmouth.
Dude, how she got out of that was, it was like word for fucking word. How she like goes through that like. I don't even know how to describe it. Like she has to go through that like midsection of the hotel and then go across the outside. The courtyard in the back. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is right out. I've been actually editing Shadow over Innsmouth for an animation thing I want to work on. So I've been fucking reading this a lot, and I'm like, oh my God,
yeah. Like
they just took it right out because this Richard Blackburn guy's like, fuck it. No one reads H.P. Lovecraft. That's from like the 1920s or something.
Well, it's paying like an homage, right? Are you saying it's an outright theft, or it's
I don't think it's an homage. It's an outright theft. This guy is like he just used fucking public domain material to like write some of his script. And like, so what if there's a fucking resemblance? Who's gonna sue me? Even though the Lovecraft family might own. I don't think so. The stories have got to be
they're
copyright. Copyright's like 50 fucking years unless you're Disney.
I don't know. I guess I read that as like, it could be outright theft. It seems like it was an homage, right? Where he was like, I love these things and I'm going to put them all in a blender and do like Dracula, Alice in Wonderland,
Dracula over Innsmouth.
H.P. Lovecraft. And I know there's other influences in there.
Well, there's like the Lenora has like an old witch.
Lemora.
Lenora? I know. Lenora.
It's also it's a unmemorable name for like the main character.
Unless you're like an 80s rock, that's why I keep Lemora. It just sounds like one of those.
It's up to you to write that song.
Where do we leave off with Lila? Okay, so Lila leaves. She gets into this car. She sneaks into a car with some people.
With the young man.
Like her neighbors. Yeah, with what we consider.
That's right. That's how she gets to the ticket station.
This is how she gets. Who hits on her though,
this
right?
is how she gets like
young man.
to downtown, where all like the dude and his girlfriend, all they talk about when they don't know she's in the back is just like how like she needs to get fucked.
I'd have a hard time concentrating on my Bible studies if she was living with me.
Well, the guy says something about like she's like, I need a ride, and he is like, get out of here unless before I change my mind. Now get. And it's like, okay, and then then they're talking in the when she's in the backseat of the car, they're like, the Reverend, it's like got this little girl like living with him, and it's like he must be going crazy. Then it cuts to show like the Reverend
going crazy,
like
just like biting his lip,
like they're doing Bible study. He's about to explode from like the sexual frustration he's feeling.
Yeah. And remember, this girl is supposed to be 13 in this movie.
She gets up, she's like, "Thank you for teaching me about Jesus." Gives him a hug. She's like, "Stop it with your sentimental acts of affection. I cannot take them." Go to your room.
You willful child.
So she hides in this car until she gets to where what we can assume is the slums of whatever town she happens to be in. Which again is just like
the guy's strangling the woman, like They stop and even the victim looks like the fuck's that? It's like, what the hell?
It's like a guy like beating a woman on the side.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like a bad musical. I was like, this
Two,
looks
like,
weird. This whole scenario
Two
just
like
looks like
farmers like leaning, just leering, right? And a woman in a red light window.
the prostitute. And the guy's just looking at the product like, I wish I could afford it.
Like 18
God
inches
damn,
from that
baby.
window. It's like, oh shit.
If I had $18 more, that fucking thing, that would be mine.
And she gets a ticket to Astaroth.
Yep.
Astaroth.
Which is where the H.P. Lovecraft thing kicks in.
Correct. Which I'm not. I don't know my Lovecraft. Forgive me. I don't know.
What?
I do that.
We're on Lovecraftian.
I do know that Astaroth is the Grand Duke of Hell.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
So
One day we will all go into the water.
Or the woods.
And from what I grasped,
Yeah, the woods.
so she gets to where she's going. It's bizarre. Is it me? Okay, am I wrong? There are two types of vampires here.
Yes.
Yes.
You're like animalistic, disgusting ones.
The ones who changed.
Yep. They became bestial. They live in they go to the woods.
And then the ones that just dress like Mormons.
Yeah, but apparently they still have their intellectual faculties intact.
Yes.
Right. And they look.
Even though they're slaves of Lemora.
Is she like the queen?
Weren't there werewolves? Or
Yes.
they supposed
Also,
to be
I'm also going to say.
I think they're the feral vampires.
They are very
versus
astute,
werewolves.
right?
Bark.
I mean, I
bark.
believe Colin just did yell underworld.
Yeah, he did. At some point, they were killing. She's like, underworld.
Yeah, it's vampires versus werewolves. I don't think they're supposed to be werewolves.
No,
Yeah,
they're just
I
feral
think-
vampires
Yeah.
who bark.
They bark.
I've never heard them.
Somehow the vampirism in this movie affects you, but it didn't
Like
really
a toxic
say.
Avenger.
Well, she
Yeah,
made.
it didn't say which-
Lemora made some statement about how like you don't have to change or blah blah blah. I don't know.
She's like, if I give you the quote unquote gift, right? Which is all done in like sexual innuendo. Like I don't remember the actual line, but it was like
this movie was just
like
Yeah,
I've
dude,
got
she's
this
like-
gift for
was
you.
like,
If I give it to you, it'll
where's
hurt
my
at
father?
and then-
First, let's dance. Like, what the fuck?
But yeah, if Lemora gives her the gift, then she'll
her a
live
gift.
forever.
Yeah,
but
dude.
if she's bitten by one of the feral things, it's gonna like she'll become a beast.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Yeah, most of it's just like them sitting around. Like she's like, "Where's my father?"
There's a
And
lot
they're
of
just
sitting
like,
around, a lot of walking.
Let's just look at you. You know? It's just like, what the fuck?
And she, it's again
We'll
just
tell a
saying,
story.
like so all of a sudden in your head you're like, all right, well, it's weird because every man just wants to get with this 12-year-old girl, and then like, okay, here's Lemora, and then all of a sudden you're like, Lemora just wants to get with this 12-year-old girl because all of a sudden, what did she say to her when she was
You
like,
have a very exciting figure.
Yes, a very exciting figure.
As she's bathing her, because that's what you do when you have someone over to your house. You're like, why don't we take a bath?
well, you
Are we doing that after this? Like,
you have such an exciting figure. I'm gonna use that line on my wife when I go home.
Yeah.
She'll slap me and go to
But
bed.
I didn't get her
fuck
fucking
off.
like her crazy witch like cook or
Solange?
something. I just didn't. It was just like this is fucking.
Oh,
did she
man.
do a
Wait,
little song around
She
her?
circled her for 10 minutes singing a song.
Thank you for I was gonna bring that up too.
That's what I was like. This is like every fucking stupid fairy tale and like Shadow over Innsmouth and
So it was
Dracula.
all blue.
Like, they're just like they're just. This guy just threw everything in there, everything you can get. Like, remember that? Remember that? Remember that?
That old lady was singing that song at her for a long time.
Long time.
was a long time.
Circle. And then
Because
she's
it ends up with it's got a scary punchline. Boo.
Yeah, boo.
I was terrified.
So they've got Lila
Maybe it's for
locked
children.
in this. They've got her locked in a stone room, right?
Yeah.
Because Lemora, obviously can't come out during the day. So Lila's been locked in this room where she has to wait until nightfall or whatever. And the old woman comes in, sings this song. So the old woman, okay, so let me see if this is right. Because when the old woman walks in, she's like, Mary Jo? And this begins the subplot of Mary Jo.
That's
Lemora's previous
subplot.
conquest.
Very.
And Solange also, it's stated somewhere that she previously owned either the house or the land that they are.
That Mary Jo
her
owned
name,
it.
or do you know this is her name? Solange.
Nice.
She
Oh,
said
Solange.
Solange, yeah. Yeah, it stood out to me because I'm a fan of the movie What Have You Done to Solange? So when I hear it, she said
second time
in
I've
the
heard
credits, she was just the old woman. Everybody in the credits is the old woman, the Reverend,
The young man.
Ticket Man. Yeah. But those are like, that is the fairy tale kind of archetype, right? It's like,
Sure.
And then the little
the woodcutter, whatever the fuck.
the fucking children with the weird canned laughter.
Rapist number 1, rapist number 2.
Weird.
They really could have labeled them that way. But yeah,
So
they
there's
came
your
after the
J.M.
kids.
Barrie
That was-
influence. Those are the Lost
Yeah, the Lost Boys. Yeah, exactly. I was
Those
fucking
kids.
thinking that. I was like, they're Lost Boys.
Stop laughing.
That was a bit creepy, though.
That's
I mean,
what the
well,
kid-
all the
Oh, was it
all
creepy
the
the first
audio
time?
in this
Was
is ADR.
ADR.
But the
Everything
kids
is
weren't
ADR.
even.
Yeah.
The problem is that the audio is playing and the
kids aren't
fucking
doing anything?
the kids aren't doing nothing. They're just looking and it's still like it's just like
happened
what
a
the
lot.
fuck is going on?
The
here?
Reverend got a phone call. And he was like, yeah, that's number 226, and his mouth was like,
Yeah, the ADR was intense. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the next thing, like after the stone room, and the hint about Mary Jo, because she says something like Lila looks like Mary Jo somehow. Like I thought she said she had blonde hair like Mary Jo or something.
I don't know. And then later they see a picture of Mary Jo who's a brunette.
Yeah, Mary Jo's like encased. So we find Mary Jo later, like encased in glass and looking like the prom queen or something
Yeah.
like that. And
Was she? I thought that was a painting.
maybe it was.
I thought it was
a glass coffin.
I thought there
or
was like
something.
a signature.
I felt like it
on
was
the
a glass.
side.
It felt like it was like a glass coffin labeled Mary Jo Pipkin or whatever her name. Spurks or
Mary Jo
Yes.
Pipkin.
Spinax.
Spinks.
Spinax.
Mary Jo Spinks, 1893.
Spinks.
Yeah, I thought they were like he like found her and she was like,
So she was a previous conquest of Lemora that
Didn't quite work out.
got away, or whatever. Yeah.
didn't want love.
So all of the clothes that Lemora is giving to Lila when she invites her into the mansion are Mary Jo's
And
stuff.
risque for a 13-year-old.
Some would say.
Sorry.
Just
By the
wonder-
way,
doesn't
where's
matter if
my
you're wearing
father?
pants.
No, let's try this
No,
one.
no, forget that. Let's dance. Let
Right.
me
So
swing you in a circle for 10 minutes.
this entire time,
After you eat the plate of cubed raw meat.
Lila is
Which,
looking.
hell was
that's
that?
Okay.
courtesy if you're having someone
It
over to
wasn't-
your
it
house.
wasn't
That's
like-
He does say that.
I
That
was
a
like
good thing.
waiting for like
it's rude not to. So I'm like, I should start playing catchphrase after the.
When she walks,
Yes, it is
she
rude.
goes
You
from
don't
the stone
take part in
house.
what they do.
She finally
You're their
meets.
guest.
But the cubed meat thing, like it's not explained before or after. It's just like she walks in and she's like, oh.
Right.
It's
So-
not explained where her hunger for it comes from. It's like, okay, if you're in the thrall of vampires,
Well, no. Didn't she get bit by one of those lesser things, or she
I
got
don't think she was
scratched?
turning.
I don't
No,
think that,
because
but
I
don't
thought
think
that's
that
what
happened.
Lemora explained. How like
That was
I
that was
don't
after
know.
that. That was after that.
Guys, this movie.
So where we're at now is she escapes out of
understand
the
my
stone room.
confusion.
Lemora, there's a cat and mouse game briefly. Lemora finds her and then convinces her that everything's cool and this is my sweet big house and I have a room for you with your stuff. And go up there. So when she gets up there, what we're talking about is there's this plate of delicious raw cubed meat on the table that Lila just is going.
There's not even a hesitation.
I thought it was
Not even
cooked.
hesitation. So
I thought they were watermelon.
I thought in my head because I was like, "There's no way that's raw meat. It's got to be like
you're trying to
it's a '70s movie and like it's like shitty. Maybe it's like
you're trying to justify in your head. You're like,
maybe it's like just like really ripe
Sloppy watermelon.
strawberries
Strawberries
or
that are
something.
melting.
Until later on in the movie when they go downstairs, the old lady's just like chopping up meat in the cubes. And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like that's what fucking was.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't explain where Lila's hunger
No,
for
not at
that
all.
would come from at that point in time. Unless there was an attack in the stone house by the vampires that I missed.
Nope.
Lemora snuck in during the night or something? All right, because she's got some other little boy that she is currently working on, right?
Yeah.
I think,
Like right after she leaves, the
'Cause
little
li-
boy gets taken to the stone house.
yeah. Isn't when Lila's in the stone house, she's able to see like through the window of Lemora's place and they're dancing. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So the idea here being that Lemora has captured the gangster and is
To draw
using
in
him
Lila.
to bring in the singing
but
angel.
turned him into one of the lesser bestial.
Here's the thing. I don't think do you have a? I don't think there's a choice. I think it's just like when you get turned into a vampire, you either like evolve one way or the other. Is what I got from it.
Yeah. Like based
Am
on.
I wrong?
Because
if Lemora,
is it based on her innocence or some shit?
Because
That could be the person inside, like, because he was an evil gangster, so he became an evil thing.
Probably.
So since she's, that's why Lemora's
if you like it, we'll go with it.
I know, but maybe that's why. Yeah, that's why she wants, because she can't find a beautiful enough soul that she can, like, I don't know, have a fucking girlfriend with. You know, everybody's ugly on the inside or something.
Is that also like that is thin? That's a stretch.
Yeah,
but
that's what I.
Is it a challenge? Is it a challenge for her to corrupt innocence?
Because Lemora turned him. Why does he? One of the Uggo ones.
It's the older, less attractive one with the younger, naked sex slave. What was that one?
What?
What's the one he was talking
Daughters
about?
of Darkness.
Daughters of Darkness, where it's the older woman and she's got like the younger, sexy one with her. It's like, it's kind of like that. It's like, this seems like that's what she wants. And it's like, that's what
You're
she
a
gets.
lesbian. You want a young, beautiful girl. Sidekick.
Yeah.
Like a Robin.
Right. A Robin. Just
She's
got
to be able to sing like an angel.
That's right. Well,
she's got to sing.
It's
like
the challenge. Okay, so Lemora, representing evil, has to
temptation.
Yep, she has to corrupt innocence, and in this case, we were told in the very first scene that the most purest, innocent person who's ever walked on the face of the earth is Lila Lee. So it's a challenge
because it's Snow White, you know.
Yeah. The reason that the father, even though he was turned by Lemora, becomes a beast is because he's evil inside.
I'm sorry, I was just disgusted by the quote on this DVD cover. This cult chestnut is more intelligent, scary, humorous, and effective than hyped recent genre efforts by, say, Coppola, Jordan, and Carpenter. Film threat. Go fuck yourself. Turn in your Rotten Tomatoes card or whatever.
We're giving Mr. Blackburn too much credit, I think.
Yeah, this says he was in Eating Raoul as an actor. Richard Blackburn.
He co-wrote it.
Raoul, that was it.
He co-wrote Eating Raoul. That's the other. Well, that and an episode of Tales from the Dark Side. I think are the only things he's really done. Yeah.
Do you think they eat Raoul?
I don't know.
Yes.
I hope.
Yeah,
it's disappointing.
Paul Bartel. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it. I've always looked at it.
Yeah,
I've always
like
picked it up and
comedy.
been like, I don't know if I should see it. Waste my time.
It's co-written by the author of Lemora, the Child's Tale of the Supernatural.
Lemora!
All right, so where are we then?
Sorry.
Lemora, after...
Don't say it.
Well, wait. The bathing thing doesn't have... Okay, so she's enticed her with the cubes of raw meat. She invites her...
It works every time.
invites her downstairs to have some quote-unquote wine, which, okay, it's the 70s.
It's the 70s red blood.
So it's paint.
It's paint.
And a bunch of these lost kids who have, like, really scaly hands. That was kind of creepy, right?
Like,
the kids, like you
pointed
have
fingernails.
You look like little
pretty skin.
transvestites.
Yeah, well, they're all dressed up like pirates or something.
Yeah,
they
they
just
are the
play
lost.
all
Well, there
day
was
long.
one
slowly
pirate.
corroding. It's like until they learn to feed for themselves, they'll just slowly like.
Okay, so there's a
I wondered
thing.
if that was a thing.
That
Well,
seems
because
what I
Lemora
got. I mean,
has
gotta be
this.
something.
I mean, they're not subtle with the makeup in this movie, right?
No.
They paint it on with a very thick application, right, to everybody. And I'm like, is that just because they were afraid something wasn't going to pick up on the film or whatever? But now we've got high definition video; we can see all this stuff. But Lemora has the broken blood vessel makeup on her cheeks, which is a sign of overconsumption, right? That's what we're going for. I mean, you've got the kids who are they're like rotting away, right? Their flesh is rotten compared to Lila's because they're vampires. You've got the other vampires who run around, the goth vampires, I guess, in the black, right? And they're just kind of pale-faced.
They kind of like the Quaker Oats
A
man.
little bit. There you go.
With fangs purchased from your local Nine Martin pharmacy.
Are the kids like wasting away because she's like just keeps them around to feed off them little by little? Like,
well, she's feeding them blood from somewhere.
Right. But is that to like keep them strong so she can feed off of them?
I don't think a vampire can feed another vampire.
But are they?
She says
really
that the kids
vampires?
are immune to the disease that corrupted her father.
That's why the kids peeked into Lila's window in the stone room at night.
Like
You
every
guys
day.
lost
During
me.
the day. I don't know.
All right. So
This movie was bad.
It hurt my feelings. I was offended. This movie's offensive.
But is it
sir.
good? Is it bad enough to be funny or no? Just bad.
I think it rides that line. I think it does.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few times like
I don't know.
there was. I counted 4 times in this movie.
The fourth rape reference.
Where
was a little funny.
no, there was more than 4 of those.
I'm gonna say no because I watched
started to get funny.
I watched Spookies by myself and was cracking up, and I was like, I gotta show this on the podcast.
And then
I was watching
crickets?
this, I was just like, fucking shit. I have to keep watching this so I can talk about it. Painful.
What was I gonna say?
It made me go to bed early.
Oh, there was 4 times this week when the screen it froze on a screenshot, and while the audio kept
Right,
going,
like that
it's
last
like
frame.
you could tell like the audio you can tell they were recorded separately. Like, all right, we got to freeze in this frame so we can skosh in this next 10 seconds of audio of ADR.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a movie that's hampered by the lack of a budget or whatever, because toward the end, there's a scene where Lemora is making her final proposition to Lila, why you should come over to the dark side, why, I'm so awesome and you want to be this. So she's carrying a torch. And all we see is the torch. We hear Lemora, but all we see is the torch. I'm like, did they shoot this? Like, this is like something that they retconned, right? Like, after shooting was done, they're like, oh, shit, we didn't explain some plot point. So we got to bring, So we have the costume. We can pull that down over an extra and give them a torch.
See,
and
if
have
that was the
talk.
case, like, I couldn't tell because there's so much of this they could have just gone back and retconned. Like, who's to say that wasn't their original intention? Or if they retcon that part, why didn't they could have done it with any other part of the movie?
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to you can't tell.
I don't want to say something controversial, but I kind of liked that scene. Where it's just
I didn't mind it. Like,
where you
it
couldn't
was
see
the
her
least-
at all. You could saw like the torch coming and I could hear
It's
her
creepy.
voice.
It's the least one of the least egregious scenes of
I
the
thought
movie.
that was kind of cool.
Oh, there you go. Then it works.
I mean,
Yeah, that's like we've been talking about.
Kind
like,
of cool.
the inside here, it cites the works of Shadow over Innsmouth, Lewis Carroll, James Barry, all these other movies.
Somebody put words to paper
Yeah.
over this movie.
This is very homagey.
Well, yeah, but in 1973, that's before the age of like Tarantino and all these guys who, I mean, they're doing homage. I mean, now everything pretty much is.
But they're doing. I guess maybe because they're doing homage to movies, right? Maybe that's why they get away with it.
And if you do an homage to literary references, it's like
just like public domain, because it's not. I mean, because I don't think they're necessarily just references. They're really trying to be the plot of the movie. They're trying to be the things that happen in this movie are just the things that happen in the other stories, That's why.
I'm not sure
Not
Mr.
that
Blackburn even had that much. I think he was just
Didn't-
flying off the seat of his pants.
Didn't somebody else write
Found
this?
somebody
No, he wrote it.
to give him money for this movie.
Who's Robert
And was like,
Byrne?
shit, we have to make hits like soon.
Yeah,
They're
it was-
gonna be mad.
Well, I know they
It's
were.
like his
It was a
family.
response to
The mobsters.
Have you
Like,
guys seen?
where's this movie we keep hearing about? We gave you money, motherfucker.
Have you guys seen Count Yorga?
We're working on it.
Now we want to be in it.
Sorry.
Make him the driver at the beginning.
Yeah, there you go. Well, no, it was like he was UCLA or something like that. It had to be like a family thing, since everybody in the credit is like Blackburn.
CV Blackburn.
Yeah. But it was a response to a movie called Count Yorga Vampire.
Yeah.
You ever seen it?
Yeah.
So that movie's not very good either. But that was,
But it was
a
the
box
first-
office hit.
And it was the first vampire movie set in modern day, wasn't it?
yeah.
That's like its big.
Yeah, because
claim to
after
fame.
that, it like triggered Blackula and
Modern Day
Dracula
where?
1972. It takes place in California.
Hells yeah.
So
in the
these
60s.
guys were like, vampires are cool right now, and we'll make Lemora and do this
acid
kind of,
trip
like,
vampire movies.
stew of like all these other literary
Right, so it's
references.
just a bunch of dudes just getting ripped in their basement.
I think that's what
should we
California
do
movie making was in the
for a
70s.
fucking
Yeah, I
movie?
think
Jack Nicholson and fucking Dennis Hopper were just like, yeah, man, we'll just put a camera up and tape one of our fucking parties.
It's
Invite a bunch of our Hell's Angels buddies over and make a fucking
that
movie.
looked good.
Here's the
It
thing:
did
it's like
look good.
it looked great. So, but
Was that called Hell's
but I guarantee you,
I think
these
it might have
movies
been.
both started out in the exact same place and went way different directions.
I'm sure Dennis Hopper and Jack Nicholson were on better shit than Richard Blackburn. That was the problem.
Probably.
He
He got some bad shit and made this movie.
Or maybe he just didn't have what it takes. You know, I mean,
Maybe
not.
not.
He's
If he
not
didn't
there.
stick
He
with
didn't do it again.
Because now, I mean, you fail upwards in Hollywood. Making bad movies doesn't stop anything in Hollywood.
Well, it's not only in Hollywood. I know some people. Just keep failing upwards.
But
all right. So the girl. Okay. So as recapping the plot. So she's trying still to get a hold of her dad, but her dad has gone all bestial. So Lila eventually escapes. I don't remember how she got out of there because she eventually sneaks into a coffin.
Just straight up fucking walked out.
that was the
building.
Shadow over Innsmouth part. That was when she
I thought that was when she got to the abandoned town.
No,
She
'cause
gets
it
to the
showed-
abandoned town in the back of a hearse. They're taking a coffin to the ceremony, right, which is going to change her.
Well, she sees her biting the other kid.
Oh, that's what it is.
But how'd she get out of the house?
She climbs out of the window just like Shadow over.
Does she? And then she
That's
runs
what
around.
the Shadow over Innsmouth.
She goes to
She
peek up
climbs out of the window, goes down. She goes into there's like a wing
She
that
walks
nobody's
down that
in.
hallway.
She goes across. She goes across that hallway. That's when she goes across the moonlit night courtyard
All the
or
paintings
whatever.
are talking to her,
Okay,
saying
let's be fair.
leave.
Everything is moonlit in this movie.
Yeah,
It's very
but that's
blue.
just specifically that part was the other Shadow over Innsmouth, like
Right.
completely like whoa.
Then she sneaks up to the window, sees her like caressing, and then bite the other child.
That's
Like,
when she sees the fangs for the first time. And like, oh my God, she's a vampire. If you haven't figured it out by now, that's what's going on in this movie.
She runs away.
And so she steals away in
She hides in a
ends up.
coffin.
They take her to this other town, right, which is basically like a steel mill or
I
something.
think it's just like the town, and
It
because
is.
they take her to Astaroth. She was just like the lady's mansion was just like I want to say the outskirts,
Right.
Yeah. Okay,
Of the
because there
town.
is like the western town,
Yes.
right, and then there's like the big industrial building.
I would say those are both
warehouses.
just different sections.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like town,
Of
you hit
Astaroth.
industrial building, and then
Captain
2 miles
Obed's,
away is her mansion.
Yeah.
That's Captain Obed's like
it's the refinery.
the refiner. Yeah.
I didn't think
Jesus.
about that.
Yeah,
It's
one
more
Dude, you
red
gotta
every
read.
time.
If
Every
you
time
read
you say
Shadow over
something.
Innsmouth and watch this, you'd be like, "Holy fuck!"
And then the other part of town is just Spawn Ranch. Like they had to shoo away the Manson family for a day to shoot
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? That's what that was supposedly was, right? That was a movie ranch,
Maybe.
Spawn Ranch.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that dude owned it. It was used for westerns and
Yeah.
other bullshit like that.
They must have those towns just laying around all over Hollywood.
Or at least they did. I know there's one. Fuck, I can't recall where it's at, but they still got Western towns set up just for Hollywood.
I just read Helter Skelter, so it's fresh.
So did I.
shit.
Yeah, like last year, that was a good thing.
That was a good thing.
Good book. I'm saying good book. Not condoning. Manson
Fucking
family.
pigs.
You know what you should, you know what you should read? So that was Bugliosi who wrote that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You should read Charles Manson in his own words.
Oh.
Because I feel like
This took a weird turn.
it's. We'll talk about that later.
All right.
That's
So
some
anyway,
more talking.
once they get to Astaroth proper, a full-on war breaks out for no explained reason. This is where,
That was the vampire werewolf fight, right?
yeah. So I mean, I was
Vampire on
actually
Vampire.
Was it? Or the
bestial versus
feral
the-
vampire.
vampire versus the
But I actually
gothic
I was with this
Quaker Oats
movie
people.
up until
Typo
this
negative
point. Like
listening.
I could follow what was happening for the most part. I mean, I'm not saying it's the most entertaining thing, but at least you could
The most
figure out
entertaining.
what was happening. And once they got to the town, it's like the editing, the direction, like everything started to collapse. There's a moment where she's running from these warring vampires, which have lost interest in her. Or they like have interest in her. Like, look, there she is. And then they're being,
Feral
staked
ones
by,
come up, yeah.
that
you
she
want to
runs-
eat her, right?
She runs through a door and ends up back in the church.
Every
You remember
every
this?
step you took was directed by me.
Yeah, we get that. Well, that comes immediately.
It wasn't the
after-
church, right? It was just a church.
No, she comes back and she's standing in front of her congregation, and we see
you're
the
correct.
reverend
You're right.
Oh.
Yes.
say,
Yes.
like, he's adding to the whole thing of like, you can't blame her. She wants to blah 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 blah. And then I'm like, what in the fuck is happening? I'm like, is this whole movie a dream told from, I mean, again, that's where I'm reading it into this because the title is A Child's Tale.
I did some research and I have some information on that as well.
Shit.
I will wait until we know the synopsis and then I'll bring it up because that's what it has to do. Because there was a scene that we did not see. I don't know where it is.
I feel like
but it
that
exists.
is true.
And I know what it is, but we'll get to that later. We'll finish the synopsis and we'll come back.
All right, as long as you remember this.
I was going to say, are you sure you don't want to just say it now?
No, because it has to do with the last scene of the movie.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so...
Okay, which we're already pretty much there. I mean, Lemora, she's like everything, yeah.
Just the thing that, like, at this point, like, Lemora... And I want to say some of the like the voices that are talking. Yeah, it's all the articulate vampires are all saying it's like you are actually the evil one, Lila. You want
suck.
to you want to consume and
That's what it
desire.
was.
You desire people. You want to drain them. It's all you. And I'm sitting there going like, I haven't seen any evidence of this in her character in the entire movie.
Correct. She's been extremely pious and perfect.
Yeah, they didn't even go back and like show her like giving us like a smirking look.
But it's just because it's in everyone.
None of that, yeah.
Right? It's in everyone.
Well, and so I thought when that
everybody
happens,
wants to fucking rape and kill and blah. We just don't because we're civilized. But
I thought
we have it in us.
I thought they were going to go for some weird morality tale when that came up. I was like, is that what they're going to do? Is like, this is in you. It's in all of us. I thought this for sure what they meant when they were doing that. And I was like, that's kind of a weird twist, isn't it?
But I don't see where. I mean, I guess what they're trying to imply is that so she's on her road to vampirism because her character is already corrupted. She's been put up.
They're just blaming the victim here.
Yeah.
Even if she's not, I think they're just trying to convince her of it. Like,
so I think,
but she falls for it. She's like,
that's what I'm
okay,
saying.
It's like I don't know.
She ends up welcoming.
You can tell her to do anything. It's
Right, well, that's what I'm saying.
Here, drink this obvious blood. It's wine. It's wine. And she's like, okay.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not necessarily true, but yeah, she falls for it. Like,
do you
they convince
dance?
her.
No, but you do now.
Yeah, I suppose that's the power of evil corrupting or whatever. That Lemora is.
Because you're not afraid.
Or was she being glamored by the vampire?
I mean, she was at some point.
She said, look me in the eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, I always thought these movies go for like, well, not these movies, but this type of story, it's always, you want to become the thing that you're frightened of. That way you feel like it's not going to be as bad, right?
Is that the message? Like, okay, you take all the supernatural stuff off of it.
Really, this is like, it's one of those damning, like, personally, I think it's one of those stories that kind of damns religion. I mean, it doesn't really knock it down your throat, but it still is. You got your priest character, don't fucking touch me, I got a boner, like, I can't touch you without getting a boner, so please, just stay on that side of the room, eat your fucking porridge. But
I wish the dialogue was that.
Well, but she's human,
but everything about her, everything about her is super religious, and no, I can't because God and this, and they're just.
I think you're still on a witch kick, and that's why you picked this movie because I feel
it was suggested by a listener or
just a lot of movies are like a lot of people that make horror movies about religion. They always go that route that somehow religion has suppressed these natural feelings in you, and it's almost like
exposure to the vampire.
Instead of being it's one of those like. The characters just go the full opposite way, like instead of being a huge progressive liberal, you become a fucking diehard conservative. You don't become a middle person. It's just saying that it's just like, your religion suppressed you. It's because any structure and rule based anything makes you feel like fuck. I don't do what I want.
That's why they go for it because they're so far like being told this way the entire time. It's easy to swing them to the opposite side.
Well, that's why I wonder if it's like, okay, so if we're supposed to take this from like if the movie is Lila's perspective, right? She's the one who's been repressed by this, religious upbringing, right? We're saying that maybe
because her father was evil.
So she has it's genetic, right? She's got something. No, okay. Well, even if we throw that out, if we say this is a feminist empowerment movie,
holy shit.
Because it's a girl who's wandering into the world. She's coming of age. She's seeing the sexual advances of like apparently everyone towards her. And so in the end, she is somehow able to become the victimize her.
She's the power.
Right?
No, I wouldn't say victimizer. She just becomes the one with power.
But the way,
But why is
the
that
way
always
that always
evil?
happens,
Why is power always
in
evil?
these
That's
movies,
what fucks me up
right?
about. That's why I always feel like these people that make these, like, these people are fucking Satanists or something, because they're like, yeah, become the devil. You know, of course, that's how you express yourself. Fucking.
It's not showing
I don't know, I
like
guess that
a
is like a
positive thing. Even
weird-
well, I mean, I guess for her, right in that moment, she meets the Reverend, who has had a subplot this entire movie.
Just
Is it a
driving
subplot?
there.
Yeah, he's been
He's
driving.
just trying
He's
to
just been
find.
driving.
He's trying to find
okay,
Lila.
also, he's hot as well. All right, just.
Oh, I thought you meant he's attractive. He's a pretty attractive guy.
attractive. Yeah, that's
Except for
very
his teeth,
attractive.
maybe. Attractive.
No, he's physically sweating.
For
He's
the
just like-
70s, he's attractive. He's extremely attractive.
And he ends up somehow magically finding the town
Right, so
Well,
then-
he
where
had
there's
the
dead
note,
bodies.
right? She left a note.
There's only one road.
I don't think she said where she was
all
going,
she said
though.
the note was that she was going to find her father.
Yeah, she didn't say where.
He didn't say
He
anything
That's why
about-
it takes so long to get there.
So he
'cause
didn't
he's
find the
driving
original note?
all over.
I thought he
Louisiana.
might have seen the original note.
No,
Yeah,
no, I think she took it with him with
Yeah,
her
she
to
did take
find
it
the
with
way.
Huh.
But he knows he must be on the right track because there's dead bodies all
Yeah,
over the place.
yeah.
I don't know why that tells you that the girl
Also,
is
he
nearby,
is not
but whatever.
freaked out by the mass amount of dead bodies
Not
with
at all.
stakes through them. Just
Dri-
strewn her across the floor.
Drives past
Look
them,
at his
comes
face.
to the
He's
town.
concerned. No, I don't know.
He's concerned. What happened here?
Knocking
Golly.
enough to find a payphone and call the authorities.
Yeah, authorities.
Hate
Frontier justice out here. We ain't got no authority. We gotta wait for the marshal to come around next
The
month.
bus driver, when the bus breaks down, breaks out the shotgun from over the top of the
Fuck.
the window. That's how you deal with
Yeah.
shit that goes wrong.
Is this movie?
I said, high above your hat. God damn it.
Yeah.
Is this movie like saying something about the South?
I'm in the middle of it.
I just think it's saying something about
Southern
heavy
Gothic.
religion. Like,
I think
don't
that's
be.
it's a cool place to put a movie, I guess, that you haven't seen 100 times before. Maybe, right?
That has
Gothic.
religious. And
Yeah, very deep
Under
sounds
and
like.
spiritual.
Those people are too religious.
Yeah.
We have to stick it to them, man. Me and my buddy Alistair Crowley.
He's English, though.
What?
Aleister Crowley?
Oh, but that guy made his
Okay,
way
I
to
get what
fucking
you mean.
America.
He was in
but
Italy for a while.
So that's what we're saying the theme of this is then, right? I
I
mean, by the
think,
way that
personally.
it ends, so she puts the bite on. Well, she
Well,
seduces.
she seduces, gets him to admit that he has that past all your religious shit. I'll get you to admit that you have lust and la 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 la.
Yep.
You know, yeah, it's got to just stick it to the man.
that she
Which
puts
I
the
like
bite
that
on.
shot, by the way. The ending of her just being like,
It was cool.
I liked it. That was cool.
Yeah, you see some,
There was
I've
a
seen
couple-
some
there was like-
cheesy vampire shit from the 70s, but at least their
There was
fangs
like
were
three
decent.
or four shots I thought were really nice in
There
this
were
movie.
there were a couple of them just like, oh, that's cool. I
So,
like
I
that.
mean, like that one where the feral vampire was like reaching for underneath the wagon. I want to say
like a table?
Oh, no, when they were
I don't-
in the church under the pew.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was
gets down. It's
It was
just
like a gray church. It looked like they were in a parking lot. Like I couldn't tell it was a church.
Oh yeah, no, the set designs were.
I guess because that
They didn't
the
have
blue
any money.
light
It was
or
wherever
the,
they could find to shoot. I'm sure.
blue
Yeah,
light,
it
and
was
every
just-
close up had a black background. It's just like you can't tell where anybody is.
Yeah. All right. So immediately following the her putting the bite on the priest and the reverend, sorry, and becoming empowered, taking it's like
She's in charge now.
it is like the sexual power, right? She's penetrating the dude. It's a reverse rape, then, right? She's
that's
been
what I'm
threatened.
saying. A lot of these 70s vampires were always lesbian girl vampires, just sticking it to the man. God damn it,
Literal man.
having to fucking.
I
Oh,
think
enough of
that
your.
was weirdly horny directors wanting to cast women.
That's
in these
probably
roles.
true. That's
It
probably
was just
true.
like creepy
Right.
guy.
I told I'm
forget
all
any
for
subtext
women
you ever
empowerment.
thought
man.
to apply to
after
these
this one,
movies.
you're gonna rip that cape off and straddle him, right?
I'm totally a feminist, man.
Weird
you should see
creepy
this new
directors
movie
all
I'm writing. Yeah, I'm writing a movie.
Do I go back to my place?
Oh man, you'd be perfect for it. You got the best
You have an exciting
face.
figure.
You have an
your voice.
exciting figure.
Exciting figure. I love what it's doing.
Come back with me.
I love what
That's
it's
got to
doing
go on
for
the
me.
wall. I think.
Yeah,
Show
yeah,
wall.
Yeah. Where's the wall?
Yeah.
So after she puts the
Well,
bite on
in
the
our
man,
minds.
Yeah. Then it
It-
cuts back to the church.
was she
right?
singing that same
Rock of
hymn?
Ages.
She's not seeing anything. It just keeps cutting back to a single frame of her.
No.
Frozen.
That was
there.
different. Part. That was,
That was
that?
the flashback.
Oh, that was the flashback. No, this
So
is
maybe
just
so even
slow
though
pull
she's
out.
in the
But there's
church,
no
she's thinking
reverend
about
there.
all this sexist stuff. That's what's going on. That's
All right,
the
so
that's what this
But
movie's
that's
really about.
not after everything. That's just cutting back to previous.
Is it?
No, that's what's
She's
really going
wearing
on.
the cross,
The reverend isn't there.
but she's wearing the cross, and it's like daylight and everything.
So then
Well,
you have
but
to
that's
read
in
the
her
whole...
mind, dude.
All right, no. So here's this.
She's a church girl.
I'm thinking it's not real.
All right, so here's
That's all I'm saying.
here's where
The
it
whole
comes
movie's
in,
like
guys.
She's in church, just thinking like I could be a slut if I wanted to. Like, that's what she's
Wait, so
thinking.
you're saying that the whole movie didn't
I don't-
actually happen?
maybe.
It's a daydream
I don't fucking
while
know.
she's in church.
I don't
Okay,
know. She has to keep eating stuff.
I have the answer.
What?
Is this about the scene?
I don't believe
This is
it.
about a scene that was
Okay.
cut out of the
Am
movie.
I right? Am I right? Come on.
This is
Come on.
about a scene that's cut out of the movie. So,
He's so excited.
so when it cuts back to the church and she's singing, it is meant for us to think that it was a dream, that kind of thing, right?
It did that effect.
Now, the scene that was cut out is that church. It was supposed to. So it's supposed to be her singing. Pans to the audience, the same audience from the church from earlier. Cut to her singing. Then it turns back. Vampire congregation, and she is supposed to be at that point. She is supposed to be singing for hell, like she's one of the higher ups.
Yeah, man.
In
These motherfuckers.
like fucking hell. Like she's like above. She's like Lemora, tiered.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just below the devil and demons.
Okay, so if that
Was what was cut out of the movie.
if that
I was right.
actually
The anti-religion.
well, but how do you read that with the
I read it, didn't I?
empowerment storyline? How
I don't
does that-
think-
like you're saying
I
actual
don't
supernatural.
think there
get it.
is an
Well,
empowerment
but-
storyline.
Well, it is empowerment, but it's empowerment
Well, okay,
through
yeah.
being evil. Like
So you're
being good is just suppressive to women. Like the only way to be free is to fucking act
So is
like
that-
an animal. You know?
but that logic says then that she frees all of the people who are in the church because they are all repressed and held by the churches,
And they're all women.
women. So by her
One by
coming
one.
there, she liberates them all.
She could.
Through Satan.
She could.
I think we're putting too much thought into. I think that Mr. Blackburn hired whoever he could hire at the cheapest price, and he wanted a female.
That's why it's
lead
Shadow
at the
over
beginning.
Innsmouth. I mean,
And I don't think that was as deep as we think it is.
See, that's the thought with watching movies from this far back. I'm like, did these
It's
people
hard to
ever-
tell, right?
It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell.
No,
It's
I
like,
think,
did they ever put this much
yeah,
thought
they
into
put
this
a lot.
stuff?
I think this guy put a lot of thought into it. I mean, obviously he's
I think
he's
a lot of
a
that
literate
thought
fellow.
probably why
He's
it's
read
not
all
a
this
good
stuff.
movie.
I think
Probably.
he combined it in a stew. The thing that isn't in
It's like, I
Shadow
want
over
to say so many
Innsmouth
things.
or really Dracula is the theme of this movie. You know, the girl. I suppose maybe you have that in Alice
It's
in
Alice in
Wonderland. But I mean,
Wonderland.
There is
you
a
have like
commentary on
corruption
this
of the
movie.
innocent, I suppose, but the whole like
That is-
the girl's coming of age story. That's unique to this movie. I think.
Well, that
right?
is
So I
what
think
Alice in Wonderland is. It's a girl coming to age.
Right,
It's a girl
that's exactly
putting
what Alice in
away
Wonderland
her
is, yeah.
childhood ideas to become an adult.
But this just adds the sexual.
That is their idea of an adult. It's the 70s, so sex is all they know about. Like,
So-
yeah, we're grown ups. Let's fuck.
Maybe that
On
theme
acid.
was like there, but I feel like I feel like you're correct that those deep thoughts were talked about,
Deep thoughts.
but I think those deep thoughts were just talked about like while they were tripping on acid and spending their whole budget on nugs of weed and blow.
Nugs.
Dude, it's going to be like.
Yeah, if you don't think that they were
lesbian
thinking stuff
vampire.
out in the 70s, you got to see.
No,
Like,
they were thinking it out too much. This is just like,
yeah, I mean, like,
they were lucky they got anything on the film at all. from just like
See, I think
between,
Pointing at the people, man.
between
I think-
doing rails of coke.
I think a lot of bad films from the 70s come from trying to make You're trying to make a statement more than you're trying to make entertainment or trying to fucking be like, yeah, dude, we're gonna rip society open with our fucking lesbian
too much into
vampires.
statement.
Create some awesome shit sometimes.
But like
And-
fucking hardly though. A lot of times it's just like junk. A lot of
And
times
all
all it
of it
is
is just
I mean,
junk.
that's why most of it is exploitation movies because their
Right.
idea of being all these fucking people, they thought they knew what love and shit was, but they were all on just drugs. That's why Haight Ashbury was like the capital of rape and heroin because it wasn't about love. Like all these people were like fucked in the head. All these So
Colin, there's an audio commentary on this disc. Are you
didn't
telling me
watch
you have not watched
Is
it?
that
Wow.
with
I watched
Mr. Is that with
years
Mr.
ago.
Blackburn himself?
yes.
Well, yes.
yeah.
And the actress.
Oh my
Blackburn,
god.
Lemora.
Was he?
Leslie
Is he
Dill,
like a
and-
carpenter now or what?
I don't know what he does. I don't know how you can make money. All right, so here's the thing, though.
what he does.
This movie. Wait. I got my cheat sheet.
Oh my
shit.
god.
So this movie came and went domestically. Did absolutely nothing.
I think it just went.
One day, Richard Blackburn was apparently in a.
He was in France, right?
He was in a bookstore in France and found out that there are books that mention Lemora, like in France.
Of course, the French.
Yeah, they said like this is art because
I cannot believe it.
I think
She
that's
is
the
so
other thing.
sexualized.
I think that's the other thing too. Like as you were saying about like in the 70s, everything's trying to be a political statement. The best way to get that across is in exploitation, if you can pull that off. And a lot of people either fall one way or the other. Your movie's too political, nobody wants to see it, or it's too exploitation and it loses the whatever the message was. So he complained that that's why he thought that that the movie didn't connect in the United States was because it was a mixture of an art film and an exploitation movie, but
with a child
far enough on either side of the fence to attract that audience.
Because it was with a child, right? Your main character is a child.
100% agree with that assessment. Honestly, that's exactly what it looks like to me. Because obviously, this is right before every actor in this went on just to make exploitation films. Like that was obviously
one of them did. Nobody else in this worked again, except wait, I got this. High Pike.
High
Pike, the bus driver, also played the mayor in Dolomite.
Oh shit!
And he was Taffy in Blade Runner.
Whoa!
He's the one who sells the.
Does Dolomite not count as an exploitation movie?
Which one?
Does Dolomite not count as an exploitation movie?
Oh no, it does
totally.
But it's almost to a T.
He's the only guy who actually had a career.
Well, because everybody else in the movie's name was fucking
Rainbow
Blackburn.
Smith, I guess.
Blackburn.
Yeah.
Everybody else
Because they lost their ass on this.
Every other vampire was just
God damn it, Tommy! Yeah, Richard. Damn it, Dick.
Richie.
Fucking Dick spent your goddamn inheritance on Lemora. Child's Tale of the Supernatural.
It's in books, goddammit, they loved it. The French loved it. They get
The fucking French like everything. They think everything's so deep.
90-year-old guys kissing each other around. They loved it.
I love how my penis becomes erect when I watch this movie. It's so.
But their appreciation of it led to the movie being rediscovered. And okay, so this is one of those things. Like, if you look this movie up right now on Rotten Tomatoes, it has an 89% fresh
Are you fucking
rating.
That's because people love to like crap. It's very niche.
And I think the only negative review I read of this was Elvis Mitchell of the New York Times. Was like, this is a crap movie that's been brought back. And there are people who drive miles to go see these things in the theaters because we've got it. But every other review that you'll read is singing the praises of Lemora, A Child's Tale.
Yeah, but they're singing like the B horror movie praises, like, oh man, it was hilarious.
Yeah, Sharknado.
No, like as a serious, like I mean,
I don't know about that.
Those people trick themselves.
It's another way of
into
saying,
thinking
I don't
fucking Troll
believe
2 is a
you.
good movie just because they want to have something their own. That's all it is. They want to convince
Is it
themselves that,
because
guys,
there's-
nobody else gets
Nobody
this.
else likes this. I'll like it.
It's the same reason why modern art is usually shit like 2-year-olds can paint, because rich people, since they'll pay $35,000 for it, they want to convince themselves they
that it's
know
awesome.
something other people don't know. Like, people don't get this, man. It's not just 4 white boxes and a red background. They don't get what this is, dude, because we are in the know. We are of the, enlightened.
Right. I mean, and, those people have a more in-depth perception of this movie than fucking Mr. Blackburn does.
Well, I'm not saying they have a more in-depth perception of it, because that was one of the things I was kind of interested about. I'm like, did anyone do an analysis of this movie? Right?
Somebody wrote a paragraph about it somewhere.
No, I couldn't find an analysis. I think we just did the best analysis that I've heard about this movie.
Like this, there's at least a page worth of text written in a fold-out, included with this
That's where it talks
HD
about the French
DVD.
thing.
Its influences and its Frenchness and whatnot. But that has got to be as far as it goes. This is the next level of analysis of this movie.
I think Colin told us
Tonight, right
about it. That's
All right, so really quickly, before we get to the mailbag segment of our show, I did look up Cheryl Rainbeaux Smith and some of her other movies. Have you seen...
Did you change your name to spell it? How do you spell Rainbow?
Rainbeaux.
Yep.
Really? Yeah, Rainbow Smith.
Rainbow
man.
Smith. 70s, bud.
70s.
That's a fucking trip out, brother.
70s.
Woo!
So in addition to the
like
movies
Rainbow,
that we
but
mentioned, have you seen Massacre at Central High?
I get burned out.
No.
Okay. How about...
Massacre at Central High?
No.
You haven't seen it.
Not just joking. No, that may be the one. I was trying to describe to you guys like a horror movie that took place in, like, they go back and revisit a high school and it's fucking broken down and there's a killer in it. And it might be Massacre at Central High.
But it might be
The
Return to
Faculty.
Horror High.
No, I don't
with
think
George
it is.
Clooney.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it
The
could
Faculty with Elijah Wood.
You seen a garbage
Massacre at Central High.
I'm gonna look that one up.
Oh.
There's a lot of horror movies with high school theme.
Also, Laser Blast. No.
I've heard of Laser Blast.
Up in Smoke.
I've heard of
Oh,
that
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
Cheech and Chong?
She's the laughing lady.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. She was in Nice Dreams and Vice Squad.
Crazy, nice dreams.
All right. So that's
Until her career ended in the 80s because of
heroin. She auditioned
Like
for
a lot of great actresses.
Jodie Foster's role in Taxi
Oh,
Driver.
she would've been good.
Didn't get it. Could have changed her entire life
She would have been just fine in that role, I think.
because she looks like.
Probably.
Well, she was too old. She wasn't She wasn't good
Right.
enough for the pedophiles. She was a little too old by Taxi Driver
She
time.
played a pretty good.
What are you, baby?
13-year-old.
26? Jesus.
She was in Caged Heat, swinging cheerleaders. She was okay.
Pom Pom Girls.
Yeah.
Pom Pom Girl. I love that trailer. I'll never watch it, but even though it is out, Pom Pom Girls is out on DVD.
Oh shit! I forgot. Richard Blackburn did have a
I thought you were
small,
like, Richard Blackburn wrote in to come and...
Yeah.
small
Thanks,
starring
guys.
part in a movie that I've always wanted to see called Stunt Rock.
Stunt Rock.
What do you see? You haven't seen? I got to show you the trailer.
I guess so, man.
There's a band called Sorcery that has a guy who's dressed
that's
up
my
like
band.
Merlin. Like,
You
you've
showed me
thrown
this
his
trailer.
staff down on the stage and it like explodes, and it's all just stunt scenes set to the music of Sorcery. It's called
Weird.
Stunt Rock.
Crazy.
I know, it looks.
Sounds bitchin'.
Yeah, that's very weird sounding.
I'm gonna see if
There
I can
used to
find
be-
the trailer.
You
That's
guys
the
ever see
Paul
that
Cohen
band that used to
bitchin'.
play in Rockford? That
I've heard of that,
Like
yeah.
in sealed casket.
Yeah,
You know
so,
what they were
yeah, they
called?
dress up like a wizard and shit.
Yeah, one of the dudes
It's
is
pretty
a
funny.
wizard and a fucking knight and shit. They put like a fake castle up on stage and shitloads of fog.
Wonderful.
I have seen them. Not live, but
Okay, he have one.
Oh, yeah.
I get you one too. Yeah, that's what I was trying to.
Mine pointing at me.
Yeah. Okay, so we should summon Igor. Igor, where are you, sir?
Masters, the mail. I've got the mail. So many letters. Our followers are rising.
And thank you, Igor.
thanks.
Nothing about the shot collars or the smell or.
Not me.
Well,
He's got
no, I
like
fixed
layer
it. He
of
can't.
slime or-
Yeah,
He's got
he-
like a new earring, but I don't like it, so I wasn't going to mention it, but all right, we'll bring it up.
Hey, let him.
I mean, he's
dress
experimenting. He's young.
Let him express
He's young.
himself. He doesn't get much time
I'll let
outside
him-
of his cage.
I'll let him do
And
it.
Now he's
I want
returned
him to-
again. Let me open this greasy envelope to see what our listeners have
It
written in
smells.
about Prom Night 2.
Yeah, baby.
Dom Cree writes in,
Dom-
Oh, Cree.
greatness. There you go. He liked Prom Night 2.
That's thank you.
About
Thank you, Dom.
Lemora, the Child's Tale of the Supernatural. Nick Hammond writes in with basically Nick, when he's writing in his final wrap up.
He is.
Basically, I can't believe you've seen this, Nick.
A wise man once said, "Don't show it, freak show it." Wait, who? It's Sean. Sean's claiming it. True or
I'll
false?
claim that one.
I don't know. I might have said. I'm not sure.
And he didn't mean this flick
claim that
because nobody should be shown this movie. I just caught this on YouTube and it was horrible. Slow, bad acting, bad makeup, bad storyline. Sorry, but I'm passing on ever making anybody else watch this.
But it's got the 89% of Rotten Tomatoes.
There you go.
Because they're so.
Sold at every coffee bar in Williamsburg.
That's right. Wrap-ups then, our final thought. Oh, by the way, if you want to write in and have your message read during, you want to have Igor deliver it to us, get a hold of us on Facebook.com/Saturday Night Freak Show or Twitter @SatFreakShow. Or you can email us, old school, Saturday Night Freak Show @yahoo.com, and we will read, we promise, we'll read your comment on air. Maybe edited, maybe not the whole thing, but we'll read it. So our wrap-ups. For those of you just joining us, this is where we have our final say on the movie, and that begins with Travis.
All right, Lemora. This movie is the type of movie that makes me really appreciate like trauma movies. Like it's one of those things where it's like you can compare bad movies and be like, well, okay, this has no money, but I understand where all the characters are coming from. I know their motivations. I know exactly where I'm at in wherever town I'm in or whatever. I know
what's going on.
Yeah, and this movie just like, I don't even think it's a good bad movie. It's not a good vampire movie. It's got a horrible witch actress in it. It's got really bad makeup.
I thought Lemora was kind of attractive.
Lemora was attractive. She's a good, attractive lesbian.
You didn't think so?
But she dressed like a hobo. She had those fingerless gloves. I'm like, what are? They're not even lacy. She just looked like a hobo.
No, she did nothing for me.
She said like a techie,
the
like
hair,
high school drama.
Yeah,
she got a weird face.
It's just like she could have been sexier. Like they
She
almost
could have been.
She's a sexy woman. They didn't need to put makeup on her.
Like for the
Let's darken her
They did
eyes.
something
She's
to
a
make her
corpse.
unsexy in this.
But yeah, I mean, I guess really. I mean, dude, as soon as I realized that I was in Shadow over Innsmouth, I just started tuning out because I'm like, dude, I read this. Why am I, why would I watch this dude's movie where he just, to me, ripped off? It can't be an homage. He just ripped. I mean, he ripped off the ticket station, the bus ride to Astaroth, quote unquote, Innsmouth. The Astaroth look, and exactly how that guy just took segments out of Shadow over Innsmouth to use, and whatever, blah 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 blah, but I don't buy it. Seemed cheap. And nothing even too vampire-y happened in this.
No.
It's a lot of just a woman seducing a young girl and a damning commentary on like Deep South religion, the whole the hypocrisy of everybody, blah, 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 blah. People telling you to live your way. Oh, they have their own feelings, I guess. But I mean, I don't know. I was about to say I can understand why people, but I don't. I just don't. But, hey, not for me, whatever. I rarely like vampire movies, let alone like lesbian vampire movies, let alone I mean, the reason this doesn't work is because it's a little girl. It's a vampire seducing a little girl, and you can't even be sexploitation because it's supposed to be a little girl.
They tried.
Yeah, they fucking tried.
Yeah, tried, but barely. Barely. It's so weird when I see movies like this, and it's like, oh my god, look at how much they actually must have spent on extras and blah blah. It's like, and they could have made such a smaller good movie, or just something.
This movie was PG.
Yeah, well,
but in the 70s,
back in the day, yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame.
If there weren't 5 attempts, or not even attempts, but just foreshadowing of rape of a 12-year-old in a movie.
There was a double
you weren't doing it
murder
right. You weren't
in
doing
the
it right.
first scene. Shotgun blast, 2 people in bed.
And it was just
PG.
Yeah,
Blood. Oh yeah.
But there's just I don't know. There's this movie forgets what the characters are supposed to be doing. There's too many story. I mean, this guy borrowed from too many stories that he forgot. What are the characters supposed to be doing in my borrowed
there's
version?
Not even a bunch of subplots as much as just shit thrown at you.
Just shit thrown at you. Just these guys are gonna come barking out of here.
I mean, the only subplot they try.
It's gonna kill the witch. Why are the? I mean,
the only subplots they have the reverends trying to find Lila. And then
forever.
Well, anyway, my wrap up is
the one I don't even understand that you guys did.
Yeah, I said fuck. Damn it to hell! I spit on it. Sorry,
Lemora.
He actually did spit.
Sorry.
Nope. No.
Spell it.
I want Lenora because there's a no in the middle, just so I can say no more.
Oh.
Just I
like
Lemora, no mora.
Lemora,
more like Lenora.
Lemora, no more. Yeah, I like that. No,
more like Labora.
I couldn't. As I was watching this movie, I couldn't believe that it was just we're really sitting here watching this for 20 minutes. Her traveling to a town, no, nothing about this was entertaining. I don't like. I don't like this movie. I can't. Nothing was interesting in this. The character of fucking Lemora, she's not interesting. I mean, like we said, there are a few shots in this movie that I appreciate.
You're drooling. Wipe that.
Sorry. I'm getting ravenous over my dislike of this movie. But Lemora's like, she's not an interesting person. She's it's all very slow. Like if they're everything they do in this movie is just slow. She explains everything to Lily slow. She talks slow. Everything happens slow. This movie is boring.
And yet we still don't know what the fucking plot is. And
No.
And why is there a fucking war?
I don't.
How can they be so slow about everything else, but I still don't fucking get it? I'm not a stupid guy.
There's the smart ones and the other ones that go off into the woods, and at some point they have to fight.
I mean, the makeup's, it's that. The makeup is definitely of that era, which is just that.
No, they were better in that era.
I mean, they were, but it's just that gross. Just like, no. Don't watch this movie. Like, there's nothing interesting about it. It's boring. Ugh. Fuck you, people. 89%? Fuck you, people. Take that. I don't want that anymore.
All right. Lemora.
No.
I think I'm the kind of person that says I like shitty B horror movies, and then
Until you come across a
and then
really shitty
something like
B-horror
this
movie?
falls in my lap, and I'm just like, fuck.
That's a Mystery Science. Like I have like, oh, that's a fun B movie, and then I have like that's Mystery Science Theater 3000. Like you need people just talking over it and making and ridiculing it, just
Like we
to
said,
make it like
it's like if I wasn't like I was biting my tongue watching this whole thing with Sean and Colin because I wanted to save shit for this to talk this.
that's like an amalgam of Sean and Colin. Sean Colin.
Sean Colin.
You guys figure so that's the Malort talking.
That's the Malort.
Otherwise, it's one of those movies where you kind of have to just like joke about it with your friends because if you're watching it alone, I would have just fallen asleep. Like,
It was rough.
like,
10 minutes in, I'd be done.
I would just fall asleep because the first time the old lady singing to her for 4 minutes. I was like, okay, this is just as gone. It's like they had to reach a certain amount of a time limit, so they had to stretch.
It has to be 88 minutes or they won't take it.
Hence the frozen shots for fucking
It's
5
only an hour
times.
and 25 minutes long.
Yeah, it's 80 minutes. 80.
And it feels like forever.
No, I don't.
This is epic.
I don't feel good. I don't feel good for having seen this.
My stomach hurts.
Oh.
I don't know.
That's very inconclusive.
The best review
That's
ever.
the best review of that. Oh, I love it. That's good. That's good enough. It's good enough. Perfect.
All right, so I've just been handed the box where it clearly says on the back, one of the most beloved horror cult classics ever made.
The artwork
there.
in the front of that box looks pretty good.
Yeah, I know. That's actually what. Okay, so that's what enticed me to get the movie. This is back in the day before Netflix, where if you wanted to see a movie, you had to buy the fucking thing. And this was like the ad was in the back of Rue Morgue magazine.
Oh, those
so
bastards.
this is the recent past, right? And I'm like, I gotta fucking
Synapse
check
is
this
pretty
out
new,
because this
right?
looks. Yeah, and I mean, yeah.
No, if I saw that, if I didn't know what that was and I saw it disc replay, I would buy that for $3. Yeah.
It's a good poster. You see the poster for the actual movie, the theatrical posters. You wouldn't see that. However, I don't think I hated it as much as you guys did. What I liked about it was, and I think I said this before in some of the other movies that, I've liked. There's the mood, tone, and atmosphere do go a long way with me. So the setup for this movie, is intriguing to me. I recognize that it's H.P. Lovecraft, but I think, to me, and Dracula, but I like those things. And so when I see it, I'm like, oh, this guy's seen the same stuff that I have. So it makes you feel that kind of kindred spirit with this guy's on my wavelength. He's seen the same stuff that I've seen, and he's reconfigured it in a way where it's not just a complete lift. It's like adding elements from a whole bunch of different things into the stew. It's a pretty movie. I think it's very blue, very colorful. I don't know if that's the transfer that they did, but I mean, it's nice to look at. There are some nice shots. I'm not saying that it's well directed, or in some cases, like the cinematographer, maybe it's the editor let him down, but sometimes it just doesn't make any sense. But as you go further into the movie, at some point, for me, I was with it even through its slowness, because I sit here and I watch him alone. I stay awake because I'm, interested in something about it. But somewhere in that last quarter, like it starts breaking down. Like I like tonight I'm watching it, I'm like, I don't remember this at all. I mean, I've seen the movie because probably I either turned it off before then or maybe I did fall asleep. I don't know, but it was like, I'm like, I remember how at the very end, obviously she becomes a vampire, but the whole thing about the war between the two tribes, it comes out of nowhere and it's not done particularly well. I give credit to the guy for being, if it is kind of like, hey, we've got some money, let's go out and put on a show. And they, get their friends together and they write this thing and they do like this period, film, and you're, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps kind of thing and making it happen. I give them kudos for that. But at the same time, it's like, listener, you got to understand, it's like they had no money. So like they were going to the Five and Dime to get the makeup, they weren't able to, production design the thing very well at all. So it is like, it just reeks of cheapness. And it's like, man, this would be one of those movies that maybe you should remake. Instead of remaking something that's good, remake something that has a kernel of an idea that might be, that you could explore and do it better. Yeah. Don't remake Suspiria. Don't remake fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Dawn of the Dead, or any of those. Go back and remake something like this. And
would you want to take to the woods and the it's just like too much of it is taken from Innsmouth and like, I don't know, too much of it. You'd have to like rethink this idea.
I do like, I did like a lot of the coloring for it being mostly shot at night with like the harsh blues. I think it actually kind of worked well. Yeah,
and the red in the window of the, and stuff like that. Lemora's cape being red in the inside. Like
not realistic on purpose, which I liked. Which I thought was maybe a little overdone. Like in that scene where before she caught the bus, it was like, that looked like a high school play prop set.
Yes.
Actually, see, this is the thing. Like when you're saying that reminds me, like the first time I watched it, that scene where she goes to the town and is being accosted by everybody, for some reason, it reminded me of a, like, they used to have these things called like after school specials or whatever, right? Where you would come home from school and there'd be a movie on or something.
Yeah, with a message.
And I'm like, this movie reminds me of one. But now I'm like actually sitting there going like, did I fucking see this when I was younger? Or at least that moment, that scene. And like somehow it's like crept into my mind. And, then I'm like, it reminds me of this kind of thing, but it's actually reminding me of itself. Like I saw it. I don't know.
That was the only set in the whole movie that did that. It was like shot in a regular church. It was, shot outside of a real house. It was shot on Spawn Ranch.
Yeah, but the set like where the bus station was. That's some set.
But that set where the bus station was just so fakey. It was weird.
Yeah. Right, but it feels like that thing where you have
movie. Weird.
Right, but it's that character who's like standing on stage, talking to himself, going through a dilemma, and then the light pops up on someone who's just like, well, you shouldn't do this, and then it goes dark.
Play.
It is. Right, and then it comes up. It's like, well, maybe you should do this, and then it goes dark on them, too.
But a lot of people did that. Remember when we were watching Phantom of the Paradise and how...
it's stylized, I guess.
God damn it, De Palma, like when they did the court scene, they just put a big American flag, they just did that in the 70s. They, instead of using money, they tried to do really Art Deco bullshit, but then sometimes it's just like, fucking shit. Well, it looks like they're playing in a cardboard box.
I think that plays into what Colin said, that there was just like, fucking, we have no money, and wherever... If this janitor will let us into this fucking set to shoot for 2 hours, then
dude, I'm telling you, that movie's like, wasted money. It's not no money, it's wasted money. Way too many people, shitty effects, but just wasted money. If they would have had a smaller idea.
What wrap up is this?
I don't know. Right. It got fucking totally out of control before I even got here.
Well, I guess my final thought on it is like there's something about it that sticks with me. Either it has imagery or the concept or something. It makes me remember it, after I've seen it. I'm not saying the end, obviously, but, there's something about the movie. This has got an intangible quality that I'm like, I'm interested in it, but I can't recommend it to everyone. It's like one of these things where like either you, and if you listen to this podcast this far, you're not going to see it anyway because you're under the impression that it absolutely sucks.
Maybe they want to hear people talk about how much it's.
Yeah,
I don't know. Well, it's vampire fans, right? Like, vampire fans love vampire movies.
Well, I have to assume the person who's listening to this podcast has already seen the movie and is listening for some kind of validation of like their point of view, which
Right.
they're not getting. They're listening to us like completely trash the thing.
Well, no, you like it.
Yeah, but it's like
you're standing up
I'm
for
like,
it pretty
We're
good.
all right to this movie.
I'm like, it's a ripoff. You're like, no, it's on.
I'm
It loves
halfway
it.
there.
We've
like-
trashed other movies. This one was all right.
didn't shred
As far as, right.
Oh, I was.
Well, I'm not like,
Yeah.
and that's the thing too. I mean, like as a
Maybe I
Saturday
did.
Night Freak Show movie,
Maybe I
it
did.
wasn't like a fun experience. It's not bad enough to be fun. It's serious enough, I guess, and that's the difference between like this and the trauma movies that use the same
Yep.
budget level. It's like this was serious and trying to do like some kind of develop a theme and tell some kind of that's it. Okay. Sidebar. If this is a fairy tale. A fairy tale's purpose is to have some kind of cautionary,
Tale.
for the reader.
Yeah.
Like, for the grace of God, go I, kind of like, stay on the path and don't wander off it, or something's going to happen to
But
you.
is it a fairy
But
tale?
but it has the structure of a fairy tale, but it doesn't deliver it, right?
Right,
I mean, because
right,
what's
yeah.
the cautionary tale?
It's just it's just like
It isn't.
It's just like things happen.
Yeah.
it's giving in to the evil thing
I
that
mean,
you've
but
been told is
generally-
evil. It's almost like a fairy tale. It's almost like what we do nowadays with Maleficent and shit like that.
It's just like
we were told that this is bad, but it's actually freeing.
Is
It's a
the
very
mor- it's like-
communist fucking concept.
Is it like given to she was pretty good. I mean, she was just really naive, I guess. It's like, I don't know, have some
Very.
fucking street smarts. Is that like the end game here? Like, what? I don't get it.
Yeah, because
I don't
she's
know.
forced into it, I guess, at the end, kind of, or coerced
Even when
into
she's
it.
like given
Peer
the
pressure.
blood wine, it's not like you're like, okay, well,
Yeah,
I'm in
Well,
this
wow,
house
you're an
with.
idiot.
I'm a 13-year-old girl in the middle of the country with no money and nothing, so I better do what I'm
Okay.
told.
Yeah.
So even then, like, there's no. You're right. There is no morality tale.
Yeah, so it doesn't qualify as a legit fairy tale. I don't know, whatever. It's an interesting piece of work for some of you. For others of you, stay away from it. My personal feeling is I'm about halfway there. I really like the first half or so, and then it deteriorates. So I can't recommend it, I guess, based on that. Next week, we're going to be watching Travis's movie. Travis is going to show us...
We're going to watch In the Mouth of Madness, the immortal classic, the last good John Carpenter movie, the last good horror movie, if you ask me.
Whoa,
The last good American-made horror movie.
Damn.
whoa.
Yeah.
I just read
I
a
look forward to
article. Was In the Mouth of Madness the scariest movie of the 90s? I don't remember who it was by.
Has to be.
You can probably Google that.
I showed it to a 55-year-old man. He goes, "It gave me nightmares, Travis."
I like, do you just hang out with 55-year-old men? I'm just curious.
It was a coworker.
Wait, you got to tune in next week to find out. You blew it. Okay, so that's next week on the Saturday Night Freak Show. And until then, the basement is going dark.